way from Iceland, Ari Eldjárn.
Hello.
So, Ari, are you in Reykjavik or the other place?
I'm in Reykjavik, yes.
It's a good guess. Eldjárn, have I said it right? Have I pronounced your surname correctly? Eldjárn?
Yeah, that's close enough, yeah.
Good enough. Does it have any special meaning?
Well, yeah, it basically means, my name, Ari Eldjárn, means eagle, fire, iron. It's like Icelandic names, they always mean something. My brother's name is Ulfur, it means wolf. My girlfriend's name is Linda, it means internet. We all have names that mean something.
This is a hard one because people don't know a lot about Iceland. I've looked into Iceland. I've researched this, Ari, for this interview.
Yeah.
I know that people of Iceland are some of the most attractive people on the planet. That's a statistical fact. I looked into it. Apparently, you're 90% Viking and 10% Irish slave. On behalf of the Irish people, we want our lookers back. But people don't really know a lot of, can you inform us a little bit about your volcanic island?
Well, the main thing to realize is that the population is really small. There's 330,000 people who live in Iceland. And you know a country is small when you ask about the population and people tell you tens of thousands. Like 300,000? No, 330,000. Don't forget those 30,000. They're really important. It's 1/11 of the population. We need those 30,000. And this has caused problems. You might have heard we had some slight economic difficulties a few years back. Well, that's because we're a small economy. Our main exports are fish and disappointment, so it goes on 10 years. But we don't have strength in numbers. We have it in statistics. We say we're the best in the world per capita. That is like considering how few we are. We are the best per capita. This is an economist's term. Children use it in Iceland. Like, we have the most cars in the world per capita. How old are you? 3? That's not very old. It is per capita. It's our thing. And we have like the most Nobel Prize winners in the world per capita. 1. And 9 years ago, we had the 4th largest bankruptcy in history, not per capita.
These are the things that people know from here in the UK, and I could throw the Republic of Ireland into the mix here. About Iceland, we know you've got occasionally troublesome volcanoes that shut down our airports and we can't pronounce. And when your bankers are naughty, you actually lock them up.
Yeah, those two things have really stuck with people in recent years. The fact that we have a volcano called Eyjafjallajökull, which for some reason is difficult to pronounce. I don't know. It's not that hard. Eyjafjallajökull. Eyjafjallajökull. Everyone can pronounce that. But it is true. Iceland did jail a few bankers. But it's been blown out of proportion. I think there's definitely fewer bankers in jail than letters in the word Eyjafjallajökull. So,
ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for Ari to take the microphone? Yeah! Well then, without further ado, will you please welcome to the microphone, Ari Eldjárn!
This is a pretty new format for me, but then again, I always feel like there's a bit of a lag and a delay when I'm doing comedy in English because it's not my first language. But people often ask me, like, what's it like to do comedy in your second language? And I tell them, technically, English is my third language because I had to learn Danish for 7 years, and let me tell you, that is a difficult language to master. I don't know how many Danish speakers we have in the audience, but you probably have heard Danish on, like, Scandi noir crime dramas. You have to collapse your throat completely. You have to open your stomach when you speak Danish, and it's really difficult to master. So every year, I go to Copenhagen and I learned Danish for 7 years, and I do my best. I go like, undskyld, kan du fortælle mig, hvor Rådhuspladsen er? And they just look at me with complete absence of emotion in their eyes and just say, please just speak to me in English. I can't understand a word you just said there. You are violating my language. It's just, let's not bother. And the Danes really like speaking English, and to be fair, they do speak good English grammatically. how it sounds, however, they are not always aware. Like, I have a Danish friend, we met in London years ago at a bar, and he was remembering this later, and he was so proud. He said, you know, first time we met, we were in London, and we spoke English the whole evening, and I could tell you thought I was English. Obviously, I am not. I am Danish. It's just, I speak perfect English. You just can't tell, because I don't have an accent. And I was like, oh, you yourself. But Icelanders and Danes really get along, but Icelanders will always have this inferiority complex towards Danes because Denmark used to rule over Iceland and then Iceland became independent. This was a long time ago though, but whenever I go to Copenhagen, I feel like I constantly have to prove that we are doing fine, thank you very much, we are now independent. And it never goes well. Like once I wanted to impress my Danish friends and I told them, you know, in 10 years' time, we might build our first ever train in Iceland. And it's true, in 10 years, we might build a train to go from the airport to Reykjavik. This did not promote me in their minds, it just confused them. They just went like, oh, you don't have trains already? Oh, wow. What do you have? Do you have any infrastructure whatsoever? Have you ever seen a train? Would you like to? We can take you to a train station. Oh, look, Ari, look, there's a train there. Look, look. Oh, look, another one. Choo-choo. You should take a picture of this and show the people back home in Iceland. And this created the question of, oh, do you have that in Iceland? Do you know what we're talking about? And it gets really annoying after a while. Like, oh, you want to meet us tonight? Just take a taxi to Aarhuspladsen and, oh, you know taxi? You have that in Iceland? Yes. Well, you can just call us on the mobile phone. You know mobile phone? You have that in Iceland? Yes. And the only thing I've ever said in response was once, after a long, hard think, I said, so the other day I was walking up a mountain. You have that in Denmark? You know mountain? And it's a really flat country. Wow. Never thought that would get an applause anywhere outside of Iceland. But I will say this, it is fantastic to do comedy in English because it does give you a way bigger market. And I think that English is the reason for why James Bond, for example, has had such an amazing career. 55 years, and nobody ever questions James Bond. I think it's because he has a British accent. When he orders his drink, he says, vodka martini, shaken, not stirred. And there's nobody who questions him. Nobody ever goes like, that's a bit needy. They just think like, oh, what a man of the world. Yes, that is the only way to drink it. Well, I've tried vodka martini. It's disgusting. It's just the accent. It's so charming, like shaken, not stirred. And people just go like, it wouldn't work if he was American. If James Bond was American, he would be too polite. Like, excuse me, ma'am. Yeah, hi, Bond, James Bond, table 7. Listen, I have the vodka martini. Can I get that shaken and not stirred, please, ma'am? You think you can do that for me? Thank you. Oh, and by the way, ma'am, can you actually make sure that I do get that drink shaken and not stirred? Because last week I was in here and I asked for it shaken, but the lady gave it to me stirred anyway. And I was actually kind of offended because I'm allergic to stirred. I can't have anything stirred near me. I'm stirred intolerant. And I think that if James Bond would have been Danish, there would have been one film made, no sequels, because nothing would have worked. It just doesn't have the same ring. He wouldn't even drink vodka martini. A Danish James Bond would just go to the bar. Hi, Carlsberg, please. No, definitely don't shake it. Don't shake it. It has to help. And I think the worst would be his number, which is amazing in English, 007. But in Danish, 007. It's just never gonna be sexy. Like, what's your number, James? Oh, det er 007. It sounds like a man with hay fever. 007. But anyway, I think that's my time. This has been a surreal and really enjoyable experience. My name is Ari Eldjárn. Thank you so much.